Alright, so Fatal Frame Maiden of Blackwater is a game that I'm very conflicted on, I guess you could say. I feel like the gameplay itself, at least for me, was its strength, but also sort of its weakness at a certain point. I really enjoyed using the camera obscura, using it to help you traverse around the areas, to catalog different things you find throughout the game. And fighting the ghosts themselves with this was a really fun experience. The tone was fine, and the world was really fun to explore the first time. Hint, hint, the big issue I feel like I have with this game. I'm someone who I really don't like being forced to replay a game. I want to replay because I had that much of a good time with the game, or I guess in this case with different levels and such, or that they perhaps found a way to sort of make it unique again. Like a game that did that really well was Nier, which hinted at in its marketing that there was a chunk of the game you didn't see. Had you play as a different character with a bit of a different new gameplay style, with the perspective offering new developments within the world you were in. In this case, though, I mean, maybe it's sort of my own fault because I was playing on easy. I wasn't really taking advantage of some of the different abilities just because, I don't know, I was having fun without them, so sort of learning how to play this unique kind of game. So, all three characters pretty much felt the exact same to play. Yes, the story advanced, but very little if you're like me and weren't really reading all of the different notes and stuff that were left around. I don't know, I'm not a big reader, I guess, sometimes, and I just in this case preferred to follow the main plot. And I don't know, they have you go through some of the same areas like 3, 4 times, it feels like. Which especially hurts if you don't like the area. Probably my least favorite area in the game. I don't even remember what the official name of it was, but it was where Kazuya was and where the ghost weddings occur. I feel like you just went there so much. It wasn't necessarily my favorite. Everywhere else was fine, but I was so sick of that particular area by the end. Hell, I even remember getting a little sick of the dollhouse, which is one of the first areas towards the beginning of the game, but after having a little bit of a break from it and getting much sicker of a different area, it was almost sort of welcoming to see. And I don't know, I felt like the collectibles and the ghost were mainly around the same areas. I mean, there was probably some variation, but you would have to go through pretty much the same exact thing again, it felt like. And then by the time you reach the fun new area, I don't know, I just didn't feel as good of a mood, I guess, as I did when I explored some of those areas the initial time, considering I was just sort of in a, alright, let's just get this over with kind of deal to begin with, leading up to that area. And it just sort of kills the momentum for me. I mean, I know some people are fine with that, but not me. And that's putting besides the fact that a lot of the levels at the end you need to backtrack and escape back to the main hub, the house. Or I think it was an antique shop or something. So then you have to go through the level in reverse, which in itself is fine. To me, that is unique enough. But not necessarily when you're also doing that for a fourth time. I don't know. Besides that, a couple other things that sort of stood out to me was I really wasn't good at figuring out when you had to take a spirit photo. It's normally near the area, and at first I didn't know that, and even a couple times after that. I didn't make that assumption, and I was exploring all around, driving myself nuts looking for this area and whatnot. I mean, I guess that's more on me, but I don't know if there is potentially a better way to do that. Also, another thing that I found a little strange, I guess, is that and sometimes when you would fight a ghost, and once again, this may come down to, the difficulty and me not using certain abilities. But I feel like, so, if you don't know how you fight the ghosts, they essentially start coming towards you, and then as you take pictures, spirit orbs will pop up around them, and you're supposed to get as many of them in the frame as you can through rotating your camera and positioning your character in that. Well, sometimes I would hit all the available orbs right before they were getting ready to charge, and I would still get hurt. So once again, I guess that's kind of on me. I should have, learned the different patterns so I knew when they were about to attack so I can time things better. And I can understand that happening if I missed the shot, but I don't know, especially being on easy, it's a little frustrating. I wish it at least stunted them a little and gave my camera a bit of a chance to recharge before they got me, but neither of those things is a super big deal or anything. Especially not compared to the other complaint I had. But yeah, another thing that I thought was kind of weird was that there's two missions. One of them I got is what you're seeing in the gameplay, where you're sort of looking at cameras, defending the antique shop. And I don't know, these missions, I liked the second mission better than I thought I would, but I kind of didn't really like the first one, and they weren't necessarily my favorite to begin with. Maybe part of the reason why I liked the second one, because that was at a point where I was repeating all the other missions anyway, so I guess maybe I was just happy to not be at the other location I was sick of at that point. But I don't know if it was a glitch or whatever, but the one time, I don't know, the ghost wasn't appearing unless I let the cameras loop. So then I just let them loop every time. I don't know if that's part of the game, maybe it was a glitch. But yeah, that was kind of a weird thing. And the game did glitch on me too at another point. I was particularly playing on PC, which I've seen some people sort of complain about the quality of the port. Other than what I said here, and there was one point in the game where I had to exit out and reload the save because it just froze up. It was really early, like in the second mission. But those are the only two issues I really had. Another mild detail I was impressed with was sort of their water system. There's like a water system where you're more weak towards ghost. And it is kind of cool to just see, the water build up on the characters. See it, drip down and affect their clothes and that. Like, I feel like that's kind of impressive for a Wii U game, essentially. This being a port, so I assume it was kind of similar initially, too. But yeah, I remember being interested in this game on Wii U, but I just never had the memory for it. I know they had a free trial for it, and if I played it, I probably would have bought the whole thing. I definitely had a lot of fun earlier in the game. Particularly, besides the last mission, I would say after you recruit, when you finally get to play as Miu, or however you pronounce her name, after you get the third and final character, that's where things sort of, I felt, went downhill for me with some of the repetition. Although the last mission was fine. Some of the requirements to get some of the different endings was a little weird, but no big deal. Although I do wish there was some sort of checkpoint system so I didn't have to replay the whole entire final mission in order to try to achieve other endings. Especially the one part, I think there's like 4 different endings you can get, like halfway through, and you can't, they're all independent, you can't double down on them. There was also a cool side story with Ayane from Dead or Alive at the end. I didn't particularly like it. It's a lot more stealth based, and I also felt like the purple line thing wasn't as responsive as it should have been to like activate in that. I mean, maybe I guess that was to add more tension because you're supposed to do it discreetly because you are trying to hide in that. But I don't know. I felt it like it slowed things down. And I don't know. I appreciate them trying something different, but for me, it just didn't really gel well. I much prefer, especially when they have something really cool and unique going, what we had in the base game. So yeah, I assume the rest of the series is probably similar to this entry. So I am definitely interested. Like I'll probably get the other remake that just came out, Mask of the Lunar Eclipse. I don't know if I'll particularly make an effort to go back to some of the older ones unless they re-release them. Just because, I mean, I don't know, maybe way down the line if I'm really in the mood for it, but I don't know based on my experience here if I would particularly pursue it anytime soon. Unless, once again, there's something new. I'm actually kind of happy because initially I planned to sort of group this with the Ghostwire Tokyo video I did. I'm happy because I had a lot more to go on than I thought with both of them. And I guess I shouldn't just be combining games like I did with GoldenEye and Hi-Fi Rush just because I did it that one time. Hell, if I only had 5 minutes worth of stuff to talk about, who cares? I don't even know why I sort of internally said that each video should be about a 10 to 15 minute thing in my head anyway, so